Captain Elena Vasquez gripped the armrests of her command chair, the bridge's hum vibrating through her bones like a brewing storm. The view screen flickered, framing the Krellian dreadnought's bloated silhouette, its hull a maze of jagged spines snaring starlight like bared fangs. Her hand-picked crew, a tight-knit trio salvaged from Earth's fractured fleets, watched in taut silence. Marcus Hale, her engineer, fingers flying over consoles with surgical grace, brow creased beneath unkempt hair. Beside him, Dr. Lyra Voss, the xenobiologist, her keen eyes devouring data streams, ever the challenger of certainties. And Reyes, the pilot, lounging back with a cocky grin masking his tension, primed to wring miracles from the battered frigate Defiant. "They're hailing us again," Marcus said, voice steady yet weary. The Krellians had badgered them for hours. Demands, threats, the imperial swagger that had crushed human colonies one after another. Elena nodded, smoothing her threadbare uniform, scarred by endless clashes. "Put it through." The screen split, unveiling the Krellian envoy, a towering form of iridescent scales and obsidian eyes. His translator intoned flawless English, dripping disdain. "Human vessel, you intrude in sovereign space. Your species' aggression invites this blockade. Apologize for the Epsilon Eridani incursion, yield your logs, and we might spare your trivial craft." Elena's jaw clenched. Epsilon Eridani was no incursion, it was desperation. Her people had harvested those asteroids for fuel after the Krellians severed trade, dooming outposts to enforce their peace. Yielding meant confessing weakness, surrendering proof that could trigger galactic genocide edicts. She leaned in, voice even and ironclad. "No apology. We took what necessity demanded. Clear your blockade or we'll carve our path." The envoy's scales shimmered with fury. Elena recognized all too well. "Insolence. Your kind clutches pride as empires collapse. Prepare for boarding." The channel died, alarms shrieking as tractor beams clamped down. Marcus muttered a curse, shunting power to shields. "They're reeling us in. Engines maxed, but their holds unbreakable." Lyra glanced from her tablet, tone urgent yet precise. "Their biology, those spines pack neurotoxins. If they board, we need countermeasures now." Reyes whirled in his seat, hands poised on controls. "Your call, Cap? Microjump? Slingshot off that moon shard?" "Dicey, but it'll shatter the beam." Elena balanced the odds, the Defiant S-core pulsing with heat. A patchwork relic, but her crew made it roar. Refusing apology wasn't rhetoric, it was defiance for every free human soul. "Do it. And charge the disruptor pulse, let's leave a mark." Reyes slammed the thrusters. The frigate quaked, stars blurring into streaks. The dreadnought swelled, docking arms reaching like talons. Elena sensed the inexorable tug in her core, the gravity of what followed. One slip and they'd fade into Krellian footnotes. But fear? That belonged to the compliant. Captain Ilera Voss gripped the armrests of her command chair, the Endeavor's engines thrumming through the deck like a distant pulse. The view screen crackled with static, the alien fleet's blockade throwing stark shadows across the stars. Her small, bonded crew stirred with honed urgency. Lieutenant Marcus Hale at navigation, fingers weaving through holograms, Dr. Lena Kieran in medbay priming emergency rights. Ensign Theo Grant, the young engineer, sweat slick as he mended the comms array. "They're hailing again," Hale reported, voice even but wary. The man balanced perils like a trader's ledger. Ilera nodded, squaring her uniform. No tremor in her bearing, just the quiet steel forged in a dozen dust-ups. The alien feed hissed alive, translator clipping their tongue into synthetic bite. "Human vessel Endeavor, you breached the accord. Surrender cargo and crew for scrutiny. Refusal means neutralization." Ilera leaned forward, dark eyes piercing the screen. The cargo, life-saving meds for Epsilon 9 colony, was non-negotiable with lives teetering. "This is Captain Voss. Humanitarian mission, Galactic Council sanction. Stand down, let us through." Silence stretched, then, "The accord overrides all. Your aggressive history nullifies claims. Apologize for prior incursions or suffer repercussions." The bridge hushed. Theo looked up from his console, his usual spark dulled by strain. "Apologize? For guarding our turf?" They've bullied us since contact. Elara raised a hand, quelling him. Humanity had knelt once post-incursion war, inking pacts that strangled growth. Never again. Negative, she sent. Demand denied. Clear the way. Retaliation struck swift. Energy lances ignited the void, grazing shots searing the Endeavor as shields. Alarms wailed, crimson strobes flooding the bridge. Hale veered sharply, dodging the onslaught. Shields at 80%. A full broadside ends us. Divert auxiliary to forward deflectors, Elara commanded, comms slicing the frenzy. To Theo, ensigns spoof their sensors? Mimic a shutdown? Theo's gaze ignited with cunning. On it, cap 30 seconds. He plunged into the engineering interface, code rerouting in fevered haste. Lena's voice pierced the comm. Medbay locked down, but a direct hit spells disaster. Colony casualties mount if we stall. The ship jolted as a lance clipped them, console sparks flying. Elara braced against the deck sway, stomach churning. Outmatched, outarmed, the Krell ships loomed like wolves on a stray fawn. Surrender doomed the colony to plague, a creeping doom for thousands. Theo exulted quietly. Spoof live. They see plasma venting, our windows open. Hale pounced, thrusting forward. The Endeavor lunged through the formation's breach. Elara tracked the view screen, alien craft scrambling to regroup. One slim chance. A debris-choked lane between cruisers, relics of ancient war. Full thrust, she urged. We break or burn. The hull creaked under acceleration. A mine bloomed nearby, shockwave jarring them. Theo swore, steadying the core. Too close, integrity at 75. Lena interjected, colony distress. Raiders overrunning, blockade as smokescreen. Hurry. Elara's jaw locked. Stakes escalated, a Krell ploy pitting foes to bleed humanity dry. The slip had succeeded, but pursuit loomed. As they pierced the blockade, stars beckoned deceptively. Elara tallied the toll, scavenged fixes ahead, crew fraying at edges. Retreat? That squandered human tenacity. Captain Elara Voss gripped the armrests of her command chair, the USS Reliant's engines vibrating through the deck like a fading pulse. The view screen sputtered static, teasing the nebulous churning grasp, ionized tendrils writhing like serpents, siphoning power with relentless hunger. Her veteran trio hustled with seamless drive across the bridge. Lieutenant Marcus Hale, wiry engineer squinting from engine room scars, bent over holographic scans, fingers blurring. Next to him, Dr. Lena Kieran, xenobiologist with a blade-sharp mind veiled in poise, matched sensor feeds against salvaged alien archives. And Jax, burly security chief, prowled like a penned beast, scarred fists balled. Power at 47%, Captain, Hale said, tone firm but fraying. The nebulous field drains us raw. One more hour and we're adrift, or worse. Elara nodded, jaw firm. The planner in her tallied every risk, but threads snapped when lives dangled. No foe fleet or warp glitch plagued them. This nebula, extinct civilization's ghost, menaced with fringe legends. Resources ebbed fatally, shields crumbling, life support stuttering, no alliance rescue in sight. Toll mounted, 2 subsystems dark, vents reeking of scorched wiring. Options, she demanded, voice anchoring the tension. Hale, auxiliary to thrusters for a breakout surge? He shook his head, sweat gleaming. Tested it. Field's grip fries relays. Need a disruptor, like a counterfield MacGyvered from scraps. Lena lifted from her tablet, eyes narrowing. Logs cite a resonance frequency. Tune to it and we might loosen the hold. Off by a hertz though and it amps the drain. Jax halted, scoffing. Risky? This turns the nebula to a shredder. Seen it mulch freighters like foil. What's the call, Cap? Pray or punch? Elara pondered, command's burden mirroring the nebula's clasp. Her initial skim along the rim had rebounded when a tendril snagged, dragging them in. Now air thickened with buried dreads. She studied the screen's hypnotic swirl, purples melting to electric blues. Go, she ruled resolute. Lena, dial the frequency. Hale, cobble a modulator from storage plasma coils. Jax, lock down security, stave off panic in engineering. They mobilized, words sharp and synced. Locked at 2.4 gigahertz, Lena whispered, linking her device. Their harmonics, elegant if it spares us. Hale grunted. Coils en route. Jax, snag him from Bay 3. Careful, last fool lost a digit rushing. Jax shouldered Hale, wincing the man, heading out. Copy, Sparkplug. Don't vaporize us first. Ilara observed, a spark of unity thawing the bridge's frost. Humans adapted, pressed on. But power sank to 42%, hull moaning, red alerts throbbing. The nebula squeezed tighter, doubt flickered. What if ingenuity sealed their doom? Down in the dim guts, Jax hauled coils free, muscles straining under emergency glow. He cummed, secured, inbound. Beers on you if we pull through, Hale? Double it, the retort came, grimly amused. On bridge, Ilara steadied at controls. Motion underway, but shadows lengthened. Survival might strand a limping ship in voids, or lure nebula's hidden horrors. Tension hummed in glances, not cries, their shared steel. The auxiliary light's dim flicker painted the bridge in wavering gloom, shadows stretching like wary ghosts. Captain Elena Reyes gripped her chair's armrest, knuckles blanching on battered leather. The view screen loomed with the asteroid field's jagged fringe, a void-tumbled boneyard of fractured stone. The Endurance had crawled here post-ambush, 3 days dodging, having fuel stocks. Krell Hunter still stalked the black, but her crew had snatched a tenuous breather. Scans clean for now, Mira reported from her post, voice measured with inherent wariness. The scientist tweaked her glasses, eyeing holograms where energy blips winked like far-off embers. But deeper in, interference blinds us. One misstep, pulverized. Jax chuckled from engineering's fuzzy feed, face pixelated, sweat sheened as his tools lay bombsight scattered. Pulverized? Kind take. More like squashed bugs. Fuel's 22% cap. No marathon in these rocks sans miracle. Elena stayed stone-faced. Miracles rationed since Krell branded humans spread provocation, vitrifying fringe worlds. Earth's pleas unmet, fleets splintered, leaving improvisers like hers. She traced the NAV chart. We need that depot. Probe flagged mining station, resupply lifeline. Jax, tweak thrusters for microbursts? Nimble, fuel-sparing. Done, he shot back, humor honing sharp. But, Krell inbound? This tin won't sprint. We're Endurance, not hares. The ship trembled, edging in, hull protesting gravity's whims. Elena's gut twisted with command's untrainable heft. Myra's hands orchestrated trajectories, threading debris like needlework. Fragment inbound, port evade, she noted, serene as a shopping list. A jolt hit, alarms flaring till Jax muted them with a growl. Near miss. Integrity 94. Thanks owed. Elena nodded. Toje hast slapping. Depot, early human toehold, ditched as Krell wars flared. Fuel or parts could rally them to Delta. Doubt bit, Krell scoured clean. Captain, Mira urged, voice spiking. Signal, faint human codes. From the depot. Hope kindled, fleeting as wind sparked flame. Route it. Static birthed a ragged plea. Asterisk Endurance asterisk Outpost 7. Company here. Krell borders, holding core barely. If you hear, bring heat. Elena's jaw set. No void, survivors clinging. Jax EDA? 5FI redline. But, suicide, cap. Their hot zone. She rose, features forging steel. Then worthwhile. Mira, prime point defense. No more flight. The asteroid bulked, drill pits and laser scars marring its face. As Endurance sped, Elena sensed bonds tighten. The glue enduring declination broadcasts. Cosmos scorning human peace bids. No yielding. Raw survival. They pierced the ring, twisting through boulder gauntlet. Jax's burst staccatoed, chaos heartbeat. Longscan flared, Krell interceptor perilously near. Bogey 3 o'clock. Mira barked. Elena keyed comms. Battle stations. Show cornered humans bite. The hunter neared, weapons humming predatorily across vacuum. Jax chimed, wry-edged. Engines primed. Slingshot that boulder. Mira, blaze on cue. Maneuver brutalized, gravity pinning Elena to harness as Endurance whipped round. Mira unleashed kinetics, riddling shields. Sparks bloomed on screen, alien veering wounded. Hit. Myra's smile cracked rare. But Depot swarmed, Krell shuttles buzzing furious. Elena eyed the defiant human pulse amid fray. Dokrug, yaks. Party time. They barreled in. First Krell beam raked flank, lancing sensor and molten spray. Ship ached but crew endured. Their stand, ingenuity from ashes, no dread. Elena gripped the observation deck railing, knuckles paling as stars smeared beyond the viewport. The Resolute's engines growled low descent, plunging into Nebula's radiant murk. Marco manned the console aft, fingers pirouetting holograms, murmuring sums. Fog's denser than expected, he said, dry with steadying nerves. Alien chowders swim. But timed burst slingshots past pickets. Kira loomed by the hatch, rifle-shouldered, scanning bulkheads for threats. The vigilant type, sealing every gap, she nodded now, hope glinting rare. Just skip the explosion, Marco. Plenty holes from last scrape. Plan bare bones, desperation's gift. Croth Dominion had scorched 3 colonies weekly, their apology, a surrender demand. Yield or die, humanity answered mute, then with Resolute, freighter reborn guerrilla, slipping lines to bomb a convoy. Nebula, natural veil for stealth strike. Emerge unseen, charge the hull, ghost away. Elena pivoted, injecting calm. Cloak status. Spati Marco Kemfest, Brodamp. Ion storm toasts emitters. 10 minutes max before we blaze. Ship bucked, plasma lash scored hull in metal whale. Alarms cut short by Kira's flick. Elena's pulse surged, poise holding. Jax's loss haunted from raid, vapor and engine breach. Void like Nebula's sheen, failure spelling outpost doom. Slingshot nearing, Marco alerted, edge keen. The input, Resolute diving, compensators keening through thickest veils. Purple mist swirled viewport close. Croft shadows teased, thorn patrols lurking. Steady, Elena breathed half to self. Engines blazed, near free. Then internal strike, cloak cascaded, Marco's station sparking. What? He tore wires, futile. Nebula overload turned stealth to flare. Kira Vielu. Sensors, 3, 5 contacts inbound. Elena smashed comms. Evasive. Marco, ciel's priority. Resolute asterisk reared as Croth grazed, slagging armor in droplets. Marco swore, hands frantic splicing amid twists. Shield 60. No more hits. Elena mit Kira's gauge, shoulder bracing borders. We hold here, Kira declared, round chambering. Earn every inch. Nebula flared as Croth converged, spines clawing out. Elena holstered, gripanchoring. Plan imploded, Stormheart trapped, foes encircling. Surrender? Bitter dust. Humanity spurned once, again fangs out. First pod clamped thunderous. Elena roared over clamor. Inner seals. Marco extract us, whatever. He grinned savage, smoke coiling. Aye, Captain. Thorns learn human spine. Hatch hissed. Fight flooded halls, blasters thundering Nebula echo. Elena surged, Kira flanking, ozone and wool thick. No regrets for endurance, never. Captain Alara Voss gripped her command chair's armrests, emergency red slashing shadows across the UNS Endurance's bridge. The ship groaned through dodges, plates rattling as Krell plasma skimmed by. Her trio, life-trusted, clustered at tactical, faces carved by endless scrapes. Warp coils? Alara snapped, voice rock-steady against gut twist. Anchor eternal, head clear as others unraveled. Lieutenant Kai Ren, wiry engineer grease-streaked, stayed glued to holograms. 60%, Captain. Last strike cooked auxiliaries. Another jump risks shredding all. Dr. Mira Singh, xenobiologist whose RICOM quelled panics, eyed sensors. 3 interceptors inbound. Adapting our decoys. That apology ping? No true spot. Alara's jaw vice tight. Krell post Vega Prime demanded kneel. Apologize colony defense or oblivion. Humanity's retort, declined. Fire and chase the toll. Options. To Ensign Tomas Hale, young navigator whose care saved them thrice. He gnawed lip, fingers charting. Slingshot asteroid field ahead. Debris shield then nebula vector. Perilous, Krell sensors may pierce, but prime evasion. Vipping. Perilous? Understate. Wrong veer Stardust. Mira glanced. Beats boarding examples. Epsilon Eridani? Glassed post-rejected apology. Ilara gauged, commands press bone deep like mounting GS. Endurance asterisk. Survey craft for stars not brawls. Humans unbowed to stellar hoarders. Execute Tomas. Kai shields from life support if needed. Mira track formations, flinch I know. Lurch as Tomas burned, thrusters void flashing. Asteroids bulked viewport, eon-scarred giants glinting jewel faint. Krell interceptor ghosted in, obsidian sleek weapons pulsing, but field haze engulfed. Alarms screamed proximity. Report. Ilara's heart thudded. Trajectory match, Mira said, console blurring. Port flank. Ally hail plan? Fueled their ire. Kai growled, panel slamming for engine surge. Shields 80. Coils hot. Captain 2 minutes to clear or, blast shook deck, bulkhead sparking. Ilara gripped, lip blood metallic. Uport blazed asteroid shards, Krell sparket. Tomas twisted sharp, ship storm-tossed. Gap, he breathed, voice cracking. Pushing. They erupted to open, nebula mists alluring deadly ahead. Krell faltered, arrays broken. Ilara's smile thinned. Solid. Nebula edge course. Cloud hide next plot. But diving gases, sensors pinged. Squadron warping reinforcements. Defiance's price climbed, stars paused. The auxiliary lights' dim flicker swept the bridge like wary fireflies, shadows elongating over consoles. Captain Elena Reyes gripped her chair's armrest, knuckles bone-white on scarred leather. The view screen ruled forward, swirling nebula their uneasy haven, now snare. Vexery Dominion's obsidian fleet ringed them, hulls throbbing unnatural blue, humming threat through UNS Endurance, S-frame. Status Jax, Elena said, steady but 3-day sleep starved. No glance needed. She envisioned him hunched at engineering, fingers holographic dancing, precision-laced sarcasm. Jack's brow swiped sweat, circuits bite acrid. Shields 20%, cap lead ships volley toasted primaries. Backups limping and they're not gonna hold if they decide to poke us again. He glanced up, his dark eyes meeting hers in the reflection of the screen. Myra's theory about modulating the frequency? It bought us time, but these bastards are adapting faster than we can spit. In the corner, Dr. Mira Voss adjusted her glasses, her cautious nature showing in the way she chewed her lip while scanning the sensor readouts. The nebula's interference had masked their position initially, a desperate gamble after the failed diplomatic channel. Humanity's refusal to apologize for the mining outpost incident, declaring its self-defense against Vexery aggression, had ignited this standoff. Now, with the Endurance's crew down to a skeleton shift and resources dwindling, the stakes clawed at them like the void outside. They're hailing again, Mira announced, her voice soft but urgent. The comms panel lit up with the Vexery glyph, a spiraling symbol that translated to surrender or perish. Elena straightened, waving off Jax's muttered curse. Put it through. The screen shifted, revealing the Vexery commander, its elongated face a mask of iridescent scales, eyes like polished obsidian. The translator kicked in, its tone a mechanical hiss. Human vessel, your defiance dishonors the accord. Apologize for the incursion, submit your crew for judgment, and we may yet spare your fragile ship. Elena's jaw tightened. The accord? That outdated treaty the Vexery twisted to their advantage, painting humans as the aggressors for defending what was theirs. She leaned forward, her brave resolve shining through the exhaustion. We've said our piece, Commander. No apology. No submission. You want judgment? Earn it. The Vexery's eyes narrowed, a ripple of scales betraying its irritation. Then witness the consequences of your pride. The channel cut, and immediately the ship shuddered as disruptor beams lanced through the nebula's haze. Evade. Elena barked. Jax slammed the thrusters, the Endurance lurching sideways in a burst of artificial gravity that pressed them into their seats. Alarms wailed, red lights strobing across the bridge. Myra's hands flew over her console, rerouting power from life support to weapons, a risky move that chilled the air noticeably. "We can't keep this up," Mira said, her words tumbling out as the ship groaned under another hit. "The nebula's ion storms are masking their targeting, but if we stay we'll fry our own systems. We need to break through their formation, head for the pulsar on the far side. Its emissions might scramble their sensors long enough for a jump." Jax snorted even as he wrestled with the controls. "Pulsar? That's a one-way ticket to radiation hell document. But hell better than waiting to be boarded." He punched in the coordinates, the NAV computer beeping a warning about structural integrity. Elena nodded, her mind racing through the odds. The plan was bold, born of Myra's quick analysis during the brief lull, but it hinged on the Endurance holding together. As the ship accelerated into the nebula's denser clouds, tendrils of plasma lit the view screen in electric blues and violets. The Vexery ships pursued, their formations tightening like a noose. A sudden jolt rocked them, not a direct hit but a proximity blast that overloaded the inertial dampeners. Elena's vision blurred for a second, and Jax swore as sparks erupted from his panel. "Warp cores spiking. If we push to the pulsar we might not have enough juice for the jump after." "Do it," Elena ordered, her voice cutting through the chaos. She unstrapped, moving to Myra's side to monitor the sensors. The scientist's hands trembled slightly, but she met Elena's gaze with a nod, her caution yielding to necessity. The Endurance plunged deeper, the nebula's gases whipping past like ethereal flames. On the screen, the pulsar's distant glow pulsed rhythmically, a beacon of potential salvation wrapped in peril. But as they closed in, a Vexery interceptor broke through the interference, its weapons charging with a predatory whine. "They're on us," Jax yelled. "Evasive pattern Delta." Elena gripped the console, the ship twisting in a desperate corkscrew. The interceptor fired, grazing their flank, shields flickered to 15%, and a bulkhead somewhere aft buckled with a metallic screech. Mira rerouted auxiliary power, her face pale under the flashing lights. "Hold her steady," Elena said, more to herself than anyone. The camaraderie in the bridge was palpable, unspoken but binding. They'd faced this together, humans against the stars' indifference. As the pulsar loomed larger, its radiation washing over the hull in waves that made the deck plates hum, the interceptor closed the gap. Jax fired as Elena gripped the railing of the makeshift bridge, her knuckles white against the cold metal. The hum of the jury-rigged engines vibrated through her boots, a constant reminder that their stolen Krell freighter was one bad jolt from falling apart. Jax hunched over the console, his fingers dancing across the flickering holographic display, sweat beading on his forehead despite the chill in the air. "They're gaining," Mira said from the pilot seat, her voice steady but edged with that familiar caution. She adjusted the thrusters, coaxing a burst of speed from the overtaxed drives. The view screen showed the pursuing Vexer interceptor closing in, its sleek form cutting through the asteroid field's debris like a predator through water. Elena nodded, forcing her gaze away from the screen. "How much time until we hit the nebula?" 5 minutes if we don't shake them first." Jax didn't look up, his witty edge dulled by focus. "This bucket's got one trick left, overloading the auxiliary power to the shields. It'll blind their sensors for a bit, but we'll be flying dark too." "Do it," Elena said. "No hesitation." They'd come too far to second-guess now, ever since the Vexer fleet had glassed New Terra and demanded humanity's surrender. "Apologies?" They'd laughed in the Emperor's face, broadcasted across the stars. Now every human ship was a middle finger to the galaxy. The freighter shuddered as Jax initiated the overload. Sparks flew from a nearby panel, and the lights dimmed to a reddish glow. Mira banked hard, weaving through a cluster of tumbling rocks the size of shuttles. One clipped the hull with a metallic screech, sending vibrations rattling through the deck. "Goching!" Jax hooped, a grin breaking through. The interceptor veered off, its weapons fire going wild as their sensors failed. But Elena saw the cost immediately, the console sparked again, and the engine readouts flickered erratically. "We're losing primary thrust," Mira reported, her hands tight on the controls. That overload fried more than just the shields. Elena straightened, mind racing. The nebula loomed ahead, a swirling mass of ionized gas that could hide them, but without engines they'd drift like chaff. Options. Jax rubbed his chin, eyes narrowing at the diagnostics. We vent the cargo bay, use the explosive decompression to slingshot us in. Risky, but it'll give us the push we need. Mira shot him a look. And if the hull breaches further? We're spaced. Better than captured, Elena cut in. Her voice carried the weight of command born from too many losses. She thought of the colonies they'd liberated, the Vexor outposts turned to scrap by human grit. No room for doubt. Prepare the vents, she ordered. Jax complied, sealing off sections with quick welds from his multi-tool. The freighter groaned as atmosphere rushed out the bay doors, the force twisting them toward the nebula's edge. Alarms blared, but Mira rode the momentum, slipping them into the colorful haze just as the interceptor's lights faded behind. Inside the nebula, visibility dropped to meters. Elena activated the emergency lamps, casting eerie shadows across the bridge. Status. Engines at 20%, Jax said, already prying open a panel. I can bypass the failsafes, but it'll take time. And fuel's critical, we're running on fumes. Mira eased back, exhaling slowly. We're in but not out. Vexor patrols will comb this sector. What's the play? Elena studied the nebula's swirling patterns through the viewport, a vast, unforgiving shroud. Their mission was simple: deliver the encrypted data core to the Resistance fleet, proof of the Vexor Emperor's weakness, a genetic flaw in their warriors. But without engines they were a sitting target. We repair and push on, she said. Jax, get those engines singing. Mira, plot a course to the rendezvous point. Quiet as we can. As Jax dove into the wiring, cursing under his breath, Elena felt the familiar pull of uncertainty. The universe had feared humanity's defiance once. Now, with their ship dying and hunters on the prowl, that fear might turn to their own regret. She clenched her jaw and turned to help, tools in hand. No apologies, no surrender. Just survival one weld at a time. Hours blurred in the nebula's dim light. Jax's hands moved with practiced fury, splicing conduits and rerouting power. A sharp smell of ozone filled the air, mingling with the faint tang of recycled oxygen. Elena handed him strips of conductive foil scavenged from storage, her brave facade cracking just enough to show the strain in her eyes. Almost there, Jax muttered, wiping grease from his brow. If I can stabilize the core, we'll have thrust again. But the nebula's interference is messing with the alignments. It's like trying to tune a guitar in a hurricane. Mira monitored the sensors, her cautious nature keeping her glued to every ping. Weak signature en bund. Could be a probe drone. Elena's pulse quickened. She dropped the tools and moved to the weapons station, the freighter's single railgun humming to life under her touch. Range? Closing fast. 2 minutes. Myra's fingers hovered over the evasion controls, ready to dance if needed. Jax sealed the last connection with a grunt. The engines coughed, then roared faintly, a patchwork heartbeat. Thrust online. But don't push her hard. Elena targeted the drone as it emerged from the gas clouds, a spindly Vexor scout glinting like a needle. She fired, the railgun's slug tearing through the void with silent precision. The drone shattered in a brief flare, debris scattering into the nebula. Nice shot, Jax said. Elena gripped the armrest of her command chair, the bridge lights flickering like distant stars caught in a storm. The view screen showed the alien fleet closing in, their sleek vessels weaving through the debris field with predatory grace. Marcus hunched over the console beside her, his fingers dancing across the patched-together controls, sweat beading on his forehead despite the chill in the air. They're adapting faster than we thought, Lila said from her station, her voice steady but laced with that cautious edge Elena had come to rely on. The scientists' screens glowed with data streams, red alerts pulsing like wounds. Their shields are modulating to our frequency jammers. If we don't reroute power now, the next volley will punch right through us. Elena nodded, her jaw set. The apology demand from the Zifri collective still burned in her mind. Some bureaucratic slight over a mining claim on a fringe world, blown up into interstellar incident. Humanity had declined, politely but firmly, and now here they were, one battered human frigate against our armada. No empire, no lone hero nonsense, just survival raw and real. Divert auxiliary from life support, Elena ordered. Marcus, get me a firing solution on their lead ship. We hit hard, we hit now. Marcus grinned, that witty spark cutting through the tension. Aye, Captain. But if this backfires, I'm blaming the coffee machine, it owed me one anyway. He slammed the execute key, and the ship shuddered as railguns charged with a low whine. The first shots lanced out, streaking through the void like comets. One connected, crumpling the nose of the Zifri flagship in a silent bloom of fire and escaping atmosphere. Cheers erupted on the bridge, brief and fierce. But then the alarms wailed anew. The fleet adjusted, their return fire a barrage of plasma lances that lit the darkness. Shields at 40%. Lila called, her hands flying to stabilize the fields. The ship bucked, a glancing hit shearing off a sensor array. Sparks rained from the ceiling, and Elena tasted blood from biting her lip. Marcus cursed under his breath, rerouting on the fly. Their patterns, it's like they're learning our moves. We need something they can't predict. Elena's mind raced. The debris field around them was a graveyard of old wrecks, human and alien alike, from skirmishes long forgotten. An idea sparked, born of desperation and that human knack for turning trash to treasure. Lila scanned for volatile remnants, fuel cells, warheads, anything unstable. Marcus prepped the grapples. The plan formed in fragments, shouted over the din. They'd slingshot through the field, using the wrecks as cover, then chain a series of micro-explosions to create a shockwave. Risky, one wrong tug and they'd be debris themselves, but it was theirs, improvised from the bones of the lost. As the ship dove into the clutter, twisting between hulks that loomed like ancient leviathans, Elena felt the weight of it all. Not just this fight, but the refusal that started it, humanity's quiet stand, no grand speeches, just the choice to hold ground. The Zifri had expected surrender. Instead, they got ingenuity. A near miss rocked them, the hull groaning. Lila's voice cut through, impact in 30 seconds, brace. Marcus whooped as the first grapple latched, yanking them into position. Hold on, universe. Humans are just getting started. The dim glow of the emergency lights cast long shadows across the engineering bay, where sparks still danced from the ruptured conduit. Captain Alara Voss wiped sweat from her brow, her calloused hands gripping the makeshift wrench like a lifeline. She'd always been the steady one, the anchor in storms that would break lesser crews, but even she felt the ship's groans echoing her own fatigue. The alien blockade had held for weeks now, their crystalline ships forming an impenetrable web around the colony world below, siphoning the atmosphere's breathable gases to fuel their endless expansion. Humanity's apology, offered once in a desperate bid for peace, had been met with silence, then escalation. Now, with oxygen reserves dipping into hours, Ilara's team was all that stood between survival and suffocation. Status on the recycler? She barked, her voice cutting through the hum of failing pumps. Beside her, Jax Harlan, the engineer with a wit sharp as his tools, knelt by the jury-rigged panel. His fingers, stained black with lubricant, danced over exposed wiring, coaxing life from the dying machine. Jax was the joker, the one who'd crack a grin amid chaos, but his eyes betrayed the strain, dark circles from sleepless shifts. Breathing barely, he replied, not looking up. Pushed the filters to 120%, but they're clogging faster than a politician's promises. We get another surge from those bastards' weapons and it'll fry for good. He twisted a valve, and a hiss of recycled air rewarded him, thin but pure. It bought them minutes, not days. From the comms nook, Dr. Lena Kai monitored the scans, her cautious nature evident in the way she chewed her lip, cross-referencing data on her flickering tablet. Lena had joined the mission for discovery, not defiance, but the aliens' refusal to negotiate had forged her resolve into something unyielding. Incoming signatures, she said softly, her voice a calm thread in the tension. 3 interceptors breaking formation, heading straight for us. They're targeting the auxiliary vents. If they hit, we lose the last of our scrubbers. Ilara straightened, her mind racing through options that had dwindled to scraps. Their initial plan, slipping through the blockade's weak point with a cloaked probe to signal the colony, had backfired spectacularly. The aliens had anticipated it, their adaptive shields flaring to life and trapping the probe, which now orbited as a mocking trophy. The cost had been immediate: a power drain that left their shields flickering, and a crew member lost to the void when evacuation pods jammed. No heroes here, just the raw ache of failure. Options? Elara asked, though she knew the answer. Jax snorted, sealing the panel with a clang. We improvise, Cap. Always do. He pulled a schematic from his toolkit, sketching hasty lines on a scrap of alloy. Those interceptors rely on plasma lances, hot but predictable. If we vent the cargo bay's residual fuel mix, create a dispersal cloud, it might refract their shots, buy us a blind spot to maneuver. Lena shook her head, her fingers tightening on the tablet. Risky. The cloud could ignite our own engines. And if it fails, we're sitting ducks. Her caution wasn't fear, it was the voice of someone who'd seen too many bold ideas turn to ash. But she leaned in, adding, unless we modulate the deflector array first. Sync it to the cloud's frequency, turn their weapon against them. Elara nodded, the pieces clicking like gears in her mind. Teamwork wasn't speeches, it was this, raw ideas colliding into something viable. Do it. Jax prepped the vent. Lena, calibrate the array. I'll take us into position. She moved to the helm, her boots thudding against the grated floor, the ship's frame shuddering as the interceptors closed in. Alarms blared, red lights pulsing like a heartbeat. Jax hauled the fuel line, sweat beading on his forehead, while Lena's commands flew to the array controls. The first lance struck, glancing off the hull with a screech that vibrated through Elara's bones. She jerked the controls, weaving through debris from earlier skirmishes, a graveyard of human probes and alien drones. The cloud deployed with a whoosh, a shimmering haze blooming from the cargo bay. The lead interceptor fired blindly, its plasma bolt twisting wildly in the refraction, slamming back into its own formation. Explosions bloomed silent in the void, two ships erupting in brilliant fireballs that lit the stars. But the third broke through, its lance grazing the hull. Alarms wailed anew, hull breach in Sector 7. Elara sealed it remotely, but the recycler stuttered, air thinning. Jax cursed, diving to stabilize it, his hands a blur. Holding. But we're bleeding pressure. Lena's voice cut in urgent. Arrays overloading, shields at 20%. We can't take another hit. Elara's jaw set. Grit wasn't blind charge, it was the choice to push when retreat meant death. Reroute auxiliary power to the thrusters. We're braking for the colony's orbit, use the debris field for cover. The ship lurched forward, engines roaring defiance. As they plunged into the wreckage, the remaining interceptor pursued, but the cloud's remnants scattered its sensors. For the first time in days, a clear path glimmered ahead, not victory but a chance. The cost lingered, thinning air, a scarred hull, and the unspoken weight of those they'd lost. Yet in that fragile window, humanity's refusal echoed louder than any apology ever could. The bridge of the UNS Vanguard hummed with the low thrum of failing engines, red emergency lights casting jagged shadows across the faces of the crew. Captain Elena Reyes gripped the armrests of her chair, her knuckles white against the worn leather. Sweat beaded on her forehead, not from fear but from the sheer effort of holding it all together. Beside her, Jax Harlan hunched over a flickering console, his fingers a blur as he rerouted power from non-essential systems. The witty engineer had cracked jokes earlier to ease the tension, but now his jaw was set, eyes narrowed in concentration. Jax, talk to me, Elena said, her voice steady despite the deck vibrating beneath their feet. The alien armada's latest barrage had punched through their shields, and the wormhole generator, their only ticket out of this nebula trap, was sparking like a dying firework. He didn't look up. Shields at 12%. Hull integrity holding, but if that dreadnought fires again, we're space dust. Wormholes destabilizing. I can coax another jump, but it'll take everything we've got. And I mean everything. Across the compartment, Lieutenant Kira Voss monitored the tactical display, her cautious nature showing in the way she double-checked every scan. The former diplomat had joined the crew after the Galactic Concorde's betrayal, her scales still faintly shimmering from the neural implant that let her interface with alien tech. Incoming signatures, she reported, her tone clipped. 3 corvettes flanking the flagship. They're adapting to our evasion pattern. Elena nodded, forcing her mind to the bigger picture. Months ago, humanity had declined the Concorde's so-called apology, a thinly veiled demand for surrender after the border skirmishes. Instead, they'd broadcasted defiance across every frequency. No kneeling, no concessions. The universe had laughed at first, then struck back with this blockade. But humans didn't break. They bent, they improvised. Options. Elena asked, eyes on the view screen where the nebulous swirling gases masked their position. For now. Jax slammed a fist on the console, rerouting the last of the auxiliary power. Sparks flew and he cursed under his breath. We overload the generator for a short-range burst. Slingshot us through the nebula's magnetic field. Risky as hell, could fry the core, but it might scatter their sensors long enough to flank them. Kira shook her head, her tail twitching in agitation. And if it backfires? We're blind in there. No way to navigate without ripping the ship apart. The captain waited, the weight of 200 souls pressing on her. The early plan to negotiate a truce had crumbled when the Concorde revealed their true intent: exterminate the upstart primates before humanity's ingenuity spread. Now, with supplies dwindling and the armada closing in, failure meant not just defeat, but erasure. Do it, Elena decided. Jax prepped the overload. Kira, sync the alien arrays to mask our signature. We hit them where it hurts, their command ship. Jax grinned faintly, the first spark of his usual wit breaking through. Aya, Capitul. Time to show these squid-faced bureaucrats what a human haymaker feels like. As the engines whined to life, the Vanguard shuddered, diving into the nebula's embrace. Alarms blared, but Elena's gaze remained fixed ahead. The universe was learning, one desperate gambit at a time, that apologies weren't in humanity's vocabulary, only victory. The bridge of the UNS Vanguard hummed with the low thrum of overtaxed engines, every console flickering like a heartbeat under strain. Captain Elara Voss gripped the armrests of her command chair, her knuckles white against the worn leather. Sweat traced lines down her temple, but her eyes, sharp, unyielding, stayed locked on the view screen. The Kroth Armada loomed there, a swarm of jagged silhouettes blotting out the stars, their energy weapons charging in synchronized menace. Behind her, Engineer Tomas Hale hunched over a jury-rigged panel, his fingers dancing across exposed wiring, sparks occasionally leaping to singe his sleeves. Almost there, Cap, he muttered, voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. Beside him, Liaison Kira Voss, no relation though the shared surname had sparked more than one awkward joke, monitored the alien comms, her cautious nature keeping her translations clipped and precise. The fourth member of their core team, Dr. Lyric, the defected Kroth scientist, paced the rear deck, his elongated limbs twitching with barely contained anxiety. Brave in theory, but his wit had deserted him hours ago. Elara's mind raced through the cascade of failures that had led here. The initial diplomatic blunder on Epsilon Prime, where humanity's blunt refusal to apologize for a perceived slight, defending a neutral outpost from Kroth expansion, had ignited this war. Their early plan, a stealth insertion to sabotage the Armada's command ship, had backfired spectacularly when Lyric's intel proved outdated, trapping them in a debris field with failing shields. Resource shortages had forced rationing, the ship's fusion core was down to fumes, and the crew, down to skeletons after the boarding skirmish, faced suffocation if they didn't act. The stakes pressed in like the void outside. Lose the Vanguard and Sol's outer colonies fell. No reinforcements. No mercy from the Kroth, who viewed humans as reckless upstarts unworthy of the stars. Shields at 12%, Kira reported, her voice a calm anchor. They're hailing again. Demanding surrender. Elara's jaw tightened. Apologize now. After the lives lost, the world scarred? No. Humanity had drawn the line at Epsilon, and they'd hold it. Patch me through. The view screen split, revealing Grand Marshal Vexer's face, cold facets of chitin eyes like polished obsidian. Human vessel, he intoned, the translation module warping his clicks into gravelly English. Your defiance ends. Yield, and your species may yet petition for clemency. Elara leaned forward, her tone even, laced with the grit that had carried her from colony dredges to this chair. We've got nothing to apologize for, Marshal. You came for our worlds. We defended them. That's not a crime, it's survival. Vexor's mandibles clicked in disdain. Insolence. Your ingenuity is but a fleeting spark. Prepare to. Tomas slammed a fist on the panel. Got it? A surge rippled through the ship, the light steadying as the auxiliary core onlined with a whine. Not full power but enough. Ilara's lips curved, just a fraction. Their adaptation. Tomas had fused human scrap tech with Lyric's forbidden Croth schematics, creating a pulse emitter that could disrupt the Armada's hive-mind link. No techno-miracle, just sweat and spite. Fire on my mark, she ordered. Kira relayed the coordinates, her fingers precise despite the fear flickering in her eyes. Lyric froze mid-pace, then nodded, his caution yielding to the camaraderie that had pulled him from defection to this desperate stand. For what it's worth, he whispered, you're kind, you fight like the stars themselves. The vanguard shuddered as the emitter charged, a low growl building. Croth fighters peeled off, closing in. Ilara's heart pounded, short breaths matching the rhythm of incoming fire, blasts rocking the hull, alarms blaring. One hit the port nacelle, Tomas cursed, patching on the fly. Hold her together. Mark. Ilara barked. The pulse erupted, invisible waves slamming into the Armada. Croth ships faltered, their formations fracturing as the hive link shattered. Fighters veered wildly, colliding in bursts of plasma. Vexor's image glitched, his composure cracking into fury. What sorcery? Not sorcery, Ilara cut in, voice carrying over the chaos. Just humans? We don't break. We bend the rules. The Armada's cohesion crumbled. Escape pods jettisoned, the command ship listed, venting atmosphere. Cheers erupted on the bridge, raw, exhausted. Tomas slumped against his console, grinning through the grime. Kira allowed herself a small smile, squeezing Lyric's shoulder. The alien's eyes widened, then softened with something like awe. But triumph came laced with cost. Scans showed the Vanguard's core destabilizing, overloads from the pulse. They'd limp home if at all with hull breaches and a crew halved. Ilara stared at the receding Armada, the stars reclaiming their canvas. The universe had demanded apology, humanity had answered with fire. And in that refusal, fear took root, not just in the Croth but across the comms chatter now flooding in from neutral fleets. Whispers of the unyielding humans, the species that turned desperation into doctrine. As the ship groaned into warp, Ilara exhaled, the weight settling like an old scar. They'd won the battle, but the war? The stars watched, wary now. And humanity pressed on, unbowed.